Hello and welcome to Channel's Book Club. I am Olakunle Kasumo. In the past 3 episodes, we have been serializing our last Meet the Authors event, and we are grateful to all of you out there who have been giving us positive feedback and sending inquiries. One thing seems certain: many people are desirous of learning more about Nigerian history. And the more writers tell the Nigerian story, the better it is, especially for coming generations of Nigerians and Africans in general. Today, we bring you the last part of the series, and after then, we'll announce the result of our national essay competition, which just came to an end. Who made the final stage and who eventually won it? Watch out for that. But for now, here's the final part of our Meet the Authors series, and it started with a bit of a debate on who the founder of Nigeria is. There was a question we asked some weeks back on the show: who is the father of Nigeria? And we got a lot of responses via social media. Nnamdi Azikiwe, Obafemi Awolowo, and many people said Lugard. But we then showed an excerpt from an interview I had with Mr. Dele Ogun, in which he emphasized that the father of Nigeria was Goldie Tubman, Sir Goldie Tubman, Sir George Goldie Tubman. And I would like you to say something about this gentleman. Part of what he told me, he mentioned, which he also indicated in his book, is that Goldie Tubman was actually engaged or had a relationship with Flora Shaw, who later became Lugard's girlfriend and wife, who named Nigeria. Okay, so I'd like you to say something about this.
Yes, the relationship between Goldie and Lugard was a funny one, and I try and provide some snippets of it in the book. Because Goldie was the governor of the Royal Niger Company. It was, those who are lawyers here will understand the concept of the company, an artificial entity. This territory, Nigeria, was owned by a company. It was owned by the Royal Niger Company. It was a company, a chartered company. That's how they were created in those days. And it was that company that was the vessel, the vehicle that was used to construct the colony. It was that company that signed the treaties of so-called protection with the leaders of the ethnic groups, the 371 ethnic groups that have been identified in the book. So the work of construction was Goldie. As I said, those who would not sign on his terms, he deposed them, killed them, or deported them. And Lugard was his subordinate at that point. When Goldie's wife died, Goldie did not like publicity. Lugard was very different. When Goldie's wife died, Flora Shaw proposed marriage to him. When he rebuffed her marriage proposal, she switched her affections to Lugard. Now, Flora Shaw was a powerful person because she was the colonial editor of the Times newspaper, and the Times was the newspaper of empire, a very, very influential publication, and she was the colonial editor. So if anybody's profile was to rise, she, by her pen, could make that person. She was very close to Cecil Rhodes as well. So when, having been rebuffed by Goldie, she switched her affections to Lugard. Lugard, she was actually older than Lugard, but Lugard, now they became an item, boyfriend, girlfriend. Later on, they married. And Lugard, being the glory hunter that he is, having taken Goldie's girlfriend or mistress, if you like, he now took the glory as far as the construction of Nigeria is concerned. So when you read many of the history books, you find that it is Lugard's version. In fact, Goldie was so annoyed that he burnt all his records. He told his children nobody should write anything, publish anything about him. So you can't find material as such on Goldie. So that was the dynamic of the relationship between those two. And we could have been named. In fact, it was being proposed at one stage when they were saying, what shall we call this country, this territory? Were to be called Western Sudan. Then it was Flora Shaw, who now said Nigeria. Area of the River Niger, Niger area. So that's how we became. And you know, there's Niger is referred to amongst, we have a Senegalese guest here, and the Niger refer to them as the Nigerians, and we are the Nigerians. So that is a little bit of our history. Now, why do our people not know? Because our people are not taught. Great nations, nobody builds their future, whether an individual, whether a nation state. Nobody builds success except on the past. It's a reconciliation with the past that allows you to move forward. But where we are in denial and we're in ignorance and we bury our heads and we refuse to teach our children the history, then we continue to be caught up and tripped up by that history. Children abroad, they learn history at primary school to a level. They take it further secondary school, deeper to a level. By the time they finish their secondary school, they know the history of their country. They know the key figures. They know the key actors. They don't know anything about the history of other parts of the world, but about the history of Britain. They know that history. And then they take it to an advanced level and to degree level. And those, quite aside from the formal tuition, the access to books, history books, they will teach yourself. Here we're denied access to the books. It's too expensive because we're not producing enough of our own for the reasons that have been explained. And we're denied access to the formal education. The short answer to how you could disseminate the contents of these books to the wider populace is simple. Let them put history back on the syllabus. And these books will then become textbooks in those schools. Simple answer to get it to the masses. Is there a political will to do so? I suspect not. But it is for us to make sure that we force that political will and make it happen.